What's up, guys? I'm Scar here from theScore eSports here with PapaSmithy. PapaSmithy, how's it been? How's it been, PapaSmithy?
It's been good, Scar. I'm definitely not pastry time. You called me that during the start, but it's been a good tournament. I've had my last cast yesterday on the analyst desk, so excited to watch the rest of this series. As we're speaking, it is Samsung versus H2k, and then the final next week. So we're definitely in the business end of the tournament.
Well, take me a little bit back through your history. You first started, I feel like, as an LPL caster, transitioned into OGN caster where you are currently, and you're currently at Worlds. How has the transition been like throughout the years?
I mean, I'm one of the OGs, just like you, but in a different way, because I wasn't an LPL caster to start. There was no LPL. I was a Chinese caster pre-LPL. So we're talking back in good old 2012 when you were a relevant pro player, and I was a relevant Chinese caster. Basically around after Taipei Assassins won Season 2 Worlds, it's kind of when I hit the world scene. I was casting some Australian stuff with pastry time back then. Hence the confusion. A lot of people didn't know the difference between us. We were just voices, right? This is before the LCS and all the great production value that came with that. So we were just two guys on Skype casting Chinese games back then. A little bit of IEM qualifiers and stuff like that. But to go from there 4 years ago to here is, to call it a dream, an impossible dream, so many different ways to think about it, but it's been a roller coaster.
A lot of casters have like their own type of style they like to classify themselves in, and sometimes it's a little bit hard. So instead of asking you that, what do you think you're really good at in terms of casting?
I think for me, I look a lot at the why. Before I was a caster, I was a school counselor, so I was always good at rapport building, so that's like talking to people and stuff like that. And when it comes to games, I like the deep dive. I like to look in why do the systems happen, why are the picks strong, are the numbers too strong? So I started off from a very analytical place, and then as the macro game of League of Legends evolved, I was the same about map movements, split pushing, things like that. So I really try and get a focus on what's strong, why it's weak, have a lot of general knowledge, and then when it comes to the individual situation, I always want to have an opinion on things. I'm not going to be closed-minded. If there's a new pick, I already know what it does well in theory, and then it's kind of how does it fit into the comp, how does it fit into the game, how does it fit into the meta game. So a lot about how things fit is kind of how I look at like analysis in League of Legends.
Well, speaking about how new things fit, APMF showed up yesterday and showed up big actually for both semi-final appearances. What are your thoughts about the pick so far?
I mean, just on a simple level, isn't it fun that there's an outside chance that the SKT or I guess Samsung or H2k skin for support could be MF? Like, that came out of nowhere during the, before the tournament started, we had like a big panel of these could be the picks that could be played at Worlds, and ADMF made the cut, right at the end, and APMF wasn't there, and MF in her laning phase was really oppressive when Thunderlords became standard. They nerfed the numbers. We thought it was gone, but standard lanes then came. Laning-focused picks like Zyra came, and MF's one of the few champions. Calling it AP is kind of like facetious, right? You're building the AP Sightstone item, then going into AD, but it's all about laning phase, the range on the Make It Rain being so big, the trades being good, the movement speed means that you don't get caught by the grasping roots, so they're sticking to laning focus, and somehow MF has gotten into the support pool, so I'm excited.
Well, let's go back a little bit toward your current OGN days. You talked about how you want to know the numbers behind the scenes and like how entirely how the game works, how the players work before you cast. After switching, I want to say transitioning into from casting China to casting OGN, like a very macro dominant region, and I mean it's not really arguable, like the current best region in the world at League of Legends. What's something that you really took away from casting this region?
Look, it was a really big shift when I started, right? Because I did a season with the LPL, right, when it started at Riot Oceania, and the LPL kill a minute, super high action, summer popcorn film kind of stuff. And then LCK is very different, and the fans, made it clear they wanted a more laid-back approach, more humor, and there's just more downtime in a game in Korea because I know if I miss a series and I'm watching the VODs, I can skip between dragon fights. At least that used to be the way. Not a lot happens in terms of kills and solo kills, so it was both developing a casting style in terms of downtime and this really paying attention to vision and small. Like I feel like casting LCK, it's a lot of subtle things you have to draw attention to because it looks like nothing's happening when in reality, it's that small inching forward that those games are really about. So it's a really different change of pace to the LPL, but new challenges are new challenges. I try and embrace them.
Speaking of new challenges, I heard that there was a big caster boot camp before Worlds. A lot of casters came together, worked really well together, and that's why a lot of the caster rapport at Worlds is so good. How was the caster boot camp on your side of things?
For me, it was probably the Starkers because it's my first Riot event. I know a lot of these guys from Skype, from Twitter conversations. It's a very different beast to meet them in person. And I wondered, would these people measure up? Would they be different? Are they different from their on-screen persona? And the answer was mostly no. Like the fit was really good. It's very easy to approach people, get a beer with Crepo to build rapport for the analyst desk, get in the head of people. In general, everyone's been super welcoming. It was a really big group. I think we had 23, 24 if you include Shocks and Dash as part of the casting crew. So I just took the approach of getting in there, getting to know everyone, because I like a bit of banter. I like to, build rapport. I know I insulted you. I don't know if that's going to be in B-roll on this before we started. But if you just come in and insult people, then just kind of a dick, right? Like you can't really have that same sort of rapport. But if you get to know people, get an idea of how they work, you can just be a bit more personal. And I think it comes across on broadcast, right? Like we want to be colleagues, but also to some degree friends, and just have a strong rapport because it helps the broadcast.
Right. The rapport definitely helps. Who do you think you developed the best rapport with among all the casters?
I mean, there was some I was really looking forward to meeting, like Deficio and I. Like when you're in OGN, you don't have the same kind of infrastructure for, say, like caster feedback. Like there's Monty, obviously, you can have an informed opinion on my analysis, but apart from that, you kind of have to seek it from elsewhere. So Martin's someone that I've reached out to many times in the past, and meeting him in person, he's a big joker. I don't know how much of that comes across on broadcast, but in general, it's a really light tone, and there's no one I would say that wasn't a good fit with. Like, it was actually really good across the board. So it sounds like I'm just gushing, but it's just been a really rewarding tournament. It's, as I said, I was, 4 years ago thinking about a moment like this, wanting to be a Worlds caster, and it was a long road, a winding one, to Riot, to OGN, and now back in some ways, at least doing this tournament. So, I mean, everything's worked out.
Well, you speak about the road. You're here at Worlds. What was one of the most memorable moments for you at Worlds so far?
I mean, there's been a lot. Just the first day, right? Being part of the opening day analyst desk for Worlds, one of the biggest attention points is going to be first day Worlds, then towards the semis and finals. So first day being on the analyst desk with a really strong crew was awesome. Having some fun with Crepo and stuff like that. And then just yesterday, Madison Square Garden, Rock Tigers versus SKT. I've seen that matchup before, but in Madison Square Garden, the biggest crowd that I've had the privilege of casting to. I mean, one of the small things that a lot of people won't appreciate is that, I cast in front of a live audience in Korea, but obviously it's the Korean cast that's mic'd, not the English cast. So just hearing my voice, reverberate around Madison Square Garden, a venue that I know very well, like definitely a venue that's known worldwide, was a career highlight and then some for me.
Well, a lot of casters tend to develop into other games. Like you've signed on strictly with OGN, so you can develop into essentially any other game you want. Sure. Your colleagues Monte Cristo and Do are currently doing Overwatch for their own personal reasons. Do you see yourself expanding to other titles anytime soon?
Yeah, so right now I do Hearthstone as well. The Korean Hearthstone scene's a little bit less known, but I do that also for OGN. Like they're definitely looking for casters with a balance. At the end of the day, while League of Legends is the big game right now, who knows what you might need to pivot into the future, so you need to be able to have those skills. So for Hearthstone, I get to do hosting, so it's like a different side of things to being a color caster. When it comes to Overwatch right now, Monty and Do are definitely on top of that, but if opportunities come up in the future, sure. Like if I play a game, enjoy it, have that same urge that I did when I started League of Legends to find out more about it, it's probably a good sign that it's a game that I'm going to be considering casting in the future.
Recently, there was a little bit of controversy saying that your contract ended at the end of the semifinal weeks, and supposedly finals, it has a very high chance of being a double Korean finals, and there won't be any OGN representation there. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, it's more Korean representation, right? There won't be a Korean analyst there. I mean, anyone who comes to Worlds, if they're a caster, they should want to cast the final, right, or be involved in the final. So sure, to some degree, it's disappointing, but originally, I was contracted just for quarterfinals. At the end of the first week of groups, I was approached, and they were like, look, we're impressed with your performance. Would you consider coming on for semis? I did that, and I'm happy with my performance here. But while on some level, would it be great to be at the final? Sure. I understand that a lot of casters have put in a lot of hours this year. It's not just us OGN guys. A lot of casters out there, they're able to prep. They're able to look into things. So at the end of the day, it's nice that people want me at the final. It's nice that people want representation, but I have no doubts whatsoever that the people that will be there will do a fantastic job.
Do you have anything final to say to your fans out there, people who have followed you, I guess, through your entire journey through pre-LPL to OGN to Worlds here?
I mean, some of those guys have been there a long time, right? Since Stars War League Season 2. That's a name that's a couple of people out there going to recognize. Type A Assassin's first match after Worlds, Time and iCast. For those guys, you're crazy, but thank you so much for sticking with me for so long. And I go back and watch VODs. I think everyone's kind of seen the Heimerdinger jungle game, and I go back and watch that VOD, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was not my best foot forward, but I've developed a lot, in the 4 years since then. I'm really proud of what I accomplished at Worlds, and I'm going to take what I learned here, develop that, bring back my learnings to LCK. And if you guys saw Rocks versus SKT, you saw the potential of what Korean League of Legends can be. Watch LCK and OGN next year.
I'm Scar here with Pastry Time.
That's right. Nailed it.
With PapaSmithy, one of the best League of Legends casters in the world, at least definitely in his region.
Thank you.
You can find more of our score coverage online and on our mobile app. Thank you guys. Please have a good day.